What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. You would think that after so many childish failures, the people in charge of Russia's digital domain would get at least something right. Well, yet here we are, witnessing two events that sum up the current madness perfectly. Roskomnadzor's recent attempt to maintain its fabled internet blocking apparatus, which ended up crushing nearly half of RuNet by accident, and VK's triumphant claim that its video service has now surpassed YouTube in views. If this sounds a bit too good to be true, well, it's because it is. The entire situation unfolds like a bizarre stage play where the actors pretend to celebrate glorious victories, while the audience sits in disbelief. As usual, there are billions of rubles involved. Well, as always. It feels like if Putin wants to create a breakfast bread cutting agency, it will cost billions of rubles as well at this point. As a result, we have an endless quest to create an isolated internet realm and a political agenda that does not mind crushing anything and anyone in its path. So in today's video, let's guys explore how the race to replace Western platforms with domestic clones has led to desperate tactics, how internet pirates suddenly became the best friends of so-called official platforms, how the government's obsession with the total control sparked a surge in dissenting views and motivated the desire of people to learn more about the other side, and how it all paves the way for a crackdown on the very people who once promised miraculous solutions. Not too long ago, Roskomnadzor, the guardians of RuNet, decided to show off their shiny new internet blocking gadgets again. They were supposed to disrupt foreign platforms at will, blocking any unwelcome news or different opinions, but instead they ended up taking out a huge chunk of the Russian internet itself. For a moment it felt like living in the stone age of the web. People could not work, could not open personal emails, or even watch their usual mindless entertainment. This obviously led to a mass confusion, chaotic phone calls asking, hey, can you open this or that website? And a new wave of forced research on how to install a VPN. Imagine, Roskomnadzor wanted to show that it can't disrupt access to the Western internet at a snap of a finger. But they ended up breaking everything else instead. Literally. For a brief moment, people inside Russia were able to open YouTube, Google, Instagram without using a VPN service, just like good old times. But it was the Russian websites like VK, Yandex and Wildberries that became inaccessible. How tables turned, right? This is some sort of a comedic sketch, some people might even think. What's even more ridiculous, VK is the equivalent of Facebook, Meta, and now YouTube seized the moment to announce another victory for Russian tech. I kid you not. Its video service, they said, had soared past YouTube in daily views, an accomplishment presumably worthy of fireworks and medals. VK, that's mostly used on the territory of Russia, Belarus and a couple more post-Soviet countries, versus YouTube, used by the rest of the world. They said VK won. This is the same level of absurd news as if North Korea said that they won Olympic Games, bringing home every single gold medal. While in reality, if you spend literally 20-30 seconds and open VK by yourself, you will see creators who used to collect millions of views on YouTube, now barely getting a fraction of that on VK, 10, 200,000 at most. Not to mention a laughable handful of comments that hardly indicate an active fan base, and sometimes it's like literally 10-15 of them. So, where on earth did VK get the confidence to brag about toppling the biggest video platform on the planet? Or was this information meant for only Putin's ears, since he is used to believe in such ridiculousness, living in his own imaginary world? The answer naturally is illusions and forced optimism. People at the top are demanding results. After throwing colossal amounts of rubles into building a self-sufficient ecosystem, they need to see their budget black holes magically transform into successful stories. And so the official line is that everything is going according to the plan, as always. YouTube is dying and VK will soon reign supreme. In reality, the meltdown only drives more people to discover unusual ways around any attempt at blockade. One crucial piece in this puzzle is the government's obsession with locking out foreign services. If you force entire communities to exist without their lunch break YouTube videos or their essential Google searches, they will adapt. And adapt they do, often within hours. At first signs of not being able to access your favorite website, people start researching whether the website is accessible at all. Think about yourself, for example. You might do it as well. If Amazon or Netflix does not load or not working properly, some of you probably googled something like, "Is Netflix down?" And if you are not able to find any meaningful answers, you will probably keep researching to find a way to restore the access. That's how your typically indifferent user learns what a VPN is and how to install it. And no worries, this is not some sort of a transition to a VPN sponsorship. I wish. It will be cool, right? In the minds of certain officials, a magically sealed Russian internet was supposed to push the masses into using only local platforms. VK for videos, Yandex as a search engine, TamTam for chats, and so on. But everyday people do not appreciate losing access to the apps and websites that shape their lives. They have their subscriptions on YouTube, and these are not only Russian-speaking creators. They have their group chats on WhatsApp, and they have their classmates they have not seen for over 10 years on Instagram. If you block access to these platforms, they will find a workaround, guaranteed. This is where the best laid plans backfire. The government invests billions to build roads that lead literally nowhere, while the population invests nothing except a little time to figure out how to trick the entire system. VPNs appear by hundreds in Russia weekly. One gets blocked, two more appears almost instantaneously. It's like fighting against the Hydra. And the ease of access is also extraordinary. Just download any VPN you like, enable trial services if there's any, and press connect. Done. The entire World Wide Web is accessible once again. Billions of rubles spent on restricting this forbidden knowledge, and it only fell short before the trial version of super cool VPN Max Pro 3000. It is literally the case. And the government is too deep in this rut to admit failure, so they keep banging their fists, doubling down, and generating even more reasons for people to learn how to dodge these restrictions. Let's introduce the grand phrase that has been echoing through official circles lately: digital sovereignty. It sounds noble, almost futuristic, a self-contained online world that answers only to Russia's own laws and interests. The place that only allows regimes-approved information, and that in case something gets out of control, they can turn everything off with a simple switch of the button. But as we spoke in the beginning of this video, apparently it's not that simple. For the regime, it's a miraculous concept. Justify every move to isolate RUNET, Russian network, Russian internet, as safeguarding national security, and brand each crackdown on foreign services as a step towards independence. In their imagination, it's the ultimate shield against hostile outsiders and the guarantee of local tech prosperity. But dig a little bit deeper, and reality starts to look a whole lot less impressive. Most hardware still relies on foreign components, and the software used to run these independent platforms is often borrowed, repackaged, or even pirated. Meanwhile, the code that's branded as uniquely Russian turns out to be a patchwork of hurried translations and subpar forks of open source projects. Combine that with widespread corruption, bureaucrats and their cronies siphoning off funds at every turn, and this digital sovereignty ends up feeling more like a marketing slogan rather than a blueprint for real technological growth. Apparently, Russian bureaucracy and corruption not only destroyed its military, but also anything else that was made to make the lives of Russians better and easier. Then, there is a question of what genuine independence even means in a modern globalized world. Tech evolves in an ecosystem of international collaboration, research, and constant feedback loops between innovators scattered across the globe. Closing borders does not magically create top-tier local services, it merely ensures that the brightest minds will look for opportunities elsewhere. And even if they do close the borders, have they heard something called internet? These tech-savvy people most certainly will be able to evade the restrictions and stay in contact with whoever they want. What Russian government thinks they are doing is paying Russian software developers big money so that they restrict their own access to a much greater pool of information. I cannot make even this up, it's that ridiculous. So, as the regime parades digital sovereignty in front of the cameras, the actual workforce that could make it happen either emigrates or focuses on learning how to avoid the official restrictions. The government is left clinging to an expensive PR campaign, doubling down on blocks and filters, and insisting that each new isolation measure is a triumph for Russia's future. In truth, it is a lonely vision that drives the public further into the arms of VPN services, where they reconnect with the global web no matter what the censors force them to do. Of course, the security apparatus cannot remain oblivious forever. They see that billions have been poured into so-called import substitution stack projects. They notice the result is an ever-growing number of VPN users and a domestic video platform that's basically a magnet for pirated content. Eventually, someone in a uniform is going to demand answers. And when this happens, it won't be the top officials who take the fall. It will be the mid-level managers, coders, marketing folks. Anybody who was a part of the project will get slapped with allegations of sabotage, misappropriation, or worse. They can argue however long they want, explain things using technical terms not familiar to an apparatchik, just to hear back in return, is it working? No. So you are the one to blame. I don't care what happened, I have a problem, and I need to find people to blame. Sorry, not sorry. Pack your things, get out. That cycle has played out countless times before. The government invests in a grand vision. The vision collapses under the weight of poor planning and inflated promises, and scapegoats appear. This time, the stakes are even higher, because this entire fiasco doubles as a core political mission. Putin wanted to replace every Western company with Russian equivalent. He wanted to terminate the dependency on Western resources. And he wanted to recreate the Russian internet. They tried to mold an isolated digital realm, where Russians would never need anything from abroad. Instead, they unintentionally built a pipeline to teach citizens how to slip through every firewall and a massive distribution network for pirated goods and forbidden knowledge. And once Putin starts to realize how uncomfortably obvious the fiasco has become, heads are guaranteed to roll. Of course, the president of Russia is never to blame. It is always somebody else's fault. Well, there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel. We're finally getting close to 250,000. 250,000 sounds impressive. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway.